I'm joined this morning by one of my favorites. I will introduce him to you in a bit. But let me remind you, YLeaderboard series is proudly brought to you by MTN Ghana and Sunny Pro. A big thank you to them. I'll tell you more about these brands in a bit. But keep your messages coming in 0202222073 on Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, on the social media handles. So the hashtag is YLeaderboard series. If you want to find out anything about who I'm talking to today, you just have to put in the hashtag YLeaderboard series and you get ahead of all of us in here. Now, for the sake of my first-time listeners, Leaderboard series is YFM's innovative radio programming content that was created to develop the youth and provide inspiration to all our listeners. Now, Ghana's population is young, with about 61% being 30 and below. The International Labour Organization, ILO's Youth and Future Work of Service shows that about one-third of the youth in emerging and developing countries in developing countries view their future work life with fear and uncertainty. Why? Because there's really not much to learn from. You have big men in every economy, but who is telling the one behind how he became a big man? So that's why we decided to bring YLeaderboard series about. We're not only doing the big men, we're doing the influential men, the iconic men across all sectors. YFM is Ghana's #1 youth and urban radio station. We have year-on-year dominance when it comes to radio programming according to the GeoPol. And we therefore deem it a big responsibility to involve programs like this to help motivate you and I. Now let me just sound this. I am also a learner on this show today because this man I followed for so long, loved his music. My mom loved his music, as a matter of fact. And so I grew up listening to all of his sounds. Now the story of highlight music in Ghana through its journey of development to transcending boundaries cannot be adequately told without extolling the work ethic and passion of a tall list of disciples whose exploits in the genre propelled it around the world, transforming the African music scene, with Afrobeat being the biggest beneficiary. On the Leaderboard series today, we delve into the life and work of one of the finest and most prominent disciples and kings of the highlight music genre, whose sterling journey in music has spanned over 3 decades. Mr. Ben Brako is the name that will always be synonymous with contemporary highlight music, not only in his beloved homeland of Ghana, but across the world. Time and time again, he has earned the privilege of seeing his name added to the legends in the music industry. Ben Brako enjoys his popularity that reaches all the way back to the 60s, in his days as a student at St. Augustine's College, and when he became the lead singer of the nationally acclaimed school band, Famous Flames. Some of us were not around, you know. But today we hear the story from him. This period marks Ben's emergence as an icon and Ghana's first teenage pop star. Was born on the 20th of May 1952 here in Accra, but grew up in his mother native Cape Coast with his 7 siblings. And the formidable talent and powers of the young Ben Brako and his fellow bandmates led to them being in high demand all over the world. The country as it blazed the trail and made a significant impact in the music industry. Ben Brako is also a writer, he's an actor, a journalist, and a Ghanaian cultural icon and ambassador. And he is my guest for today's YLeaderboard series. Good morning, Uncle.
Good morning.
Welcome to Y107.9 FM. I don't want to believe this is your first time on YFM.
It is my birth.
And I'm blessed.
I'm a YFM virgin.
I hope you guys heard that. Good morning and welcome to Y107.9 FM. Before we get into business, let me just say this. I'm a huge fan of your works, and I count myself as one of the very privileged ones because I got the opportunity to work with someone very close to you at some point. And I mean, loving the father and loving his works and believing in how disciplined he is from afar and getting the opportunity to work with the son felt so real.
So that's only left with the spirit.
Exactly. and I enjoyed working with Kwesi so much. I mean, I'm sure he's listening. If he's listening, Charlie, if you want to come back, bro, give me a call. I beg you, give me a call. But welcome. It's such a privilege to sit with you today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling good too.
Nice, I love that. I want us to start off by talking about your style, okay? I'm a very...
You see, somebody was monitoring me all morning.
Okay. Joy.
And so I forgot my flyers.
Yeah.
You know, I normally have a feather that helps me to fly.
Can we send for them to bring it? It's too late?
It's too late.
Too late.
It's too late. You guys lost out.
But I must say this, I really love your sense of fashion. It's hip. I used that word earlier. It's chic. And it's matured as well. What inspires you before you threw on the kind of outfit you threw on? What are you thinking when you are dressing the way you dress? What do you bear in mind before you put on the kind of clothes you put on every day?
Yeah, well, basically, it's our heritage, and I think that every person should be aware of who he or she is and reflect from whence they come. You know what I mean?
So there must be a little bit of where you come from.
It must be a lot, actually.
Yeah, okay.
It must be a lot, because that's who you really are. Under the circumstances, you might be reflecting other stuff. And inevitably, you do reflect some other stuff because it's an interactive world. But essentially, you should reflect who you are and from whence you come.
I love that. I meet a lot of young creatives and entertainers. Every now and then they will tell you, I look up to this person when it comes to fashion. I'm inspired by this person. You just told us the motivation behind the kind of outfit you wear, the fact that you try as much as possible to represent where you come from, basically tell where you're coming from with the way you dress. Do you, maybe at the level you are on, do you still look at anybody and get inspired fashion-wise? Do you look at anybody and say, hey, I like the way they dress and I would want to pick bits and bits of how they look?
Well, when I was younger, I admired the way like Osibisa would turn out for their shows, because it reflected their origins, and also on a very high level. You see what I mean? So just because you are Ghanaian doesn't mean that it should turn out in any rags. It should reflect the best of where you come from. So, but I've always been culturally minded.
I love that. That's true.
Yeah,
I can say for a fact, whenever I pick, if I sit today to pick 20 outfits, you always have an element of Africa in there. Always.
Well,
for a fact.
Hopefully more than an element.
For a fact. Yeah, more than an element. Yeah.
You see, I try to think in terms of the culture first. So my dressing should essentially reflect where I come from, and then I could add other elements rather than take it from somewhere and then add elements of your culture. You understand?
Some of us know you in the music business as Ben Brako. In our initial conversations, you kept mentioning where you come from. Fashion and your elements should represent where you come from. But let's speak about where you come from. How was growing up like for you back in Cape? Until you were born here in Accra, but you moved to Cape Coast. Paint a picture to us. Let us understand how life was like in the late 50s growing up, if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember very much. Those images are, strong in my mind, and they reflect in everything I do. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that experienced both city and village life. So, because my father was an agricultural officer, and so we used to live in villages, albeit, a bit on the outskirts, in these things called bungalows, So, we had a lot of green trees, animals with us all the time, and it was very beautiful. But I got to experience village culture, and how they do things, and the beautiful thing about our culture, aspects of it, is that they don't have institutions that you go to and come from. Even in their religion, they don't have a church you go to on Sunday and then you come out of. You live everything, even the music, as they're working, they're singing.
Life,
it's a part of your day-to-day life. Worshiping God is a part of the day-to-day life. Because when you meet somebody, you say, Occident, so Nyamio. So all the time you're recognizing everything that's important to you as part of your day-to-day living, and not something that you go to
that you visit and then come. I love that. Nice. Now, and in our era, okay, when I say our era, the the Z ones, if someone would say they would want to get into music, it's probably because maybe they've seen the level at which stardom can propel the lives of people, or they've seen the influence they can gather, or they've probably seen the returns that are coming in. Can I say same for your time? If yes, what actually inspired you to say, you know what, I want to be in this space? Aside the fact that you could sing, what actually propelled you to believe, you know what, this is the career path I want to pick?
Well, I mean, as a very young person, I was always very musical. You know, it's something that I did not need
any external influence to
idols to say, you know, decide that I wanted to be this. You know, I always knew what I wanted to be. You know, and you know, in those days they didn't have all these stereos and stuff. They had the wine in wine called his master's voice. You know, and so entertainment was a bit sparse. And when my parents were entertaining, they would play all the records they had, and then they would call me Ben to come and sing for their business, you know, and I'll come and do it, you know, because I was singing all the time. So it's not my inspiration it's my, I don't know.
I think it's just from heaven. You came with it.
Yes. How did you know?
I mean, when you can't really put words to describing where it is from, you naturally assume it's something you came with. It's an inborn quality. Like God literally lifted and dropped it in your body and said, you know what, come with this and then do it. And so it just comes out naturally.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were the other interests you had growing up aside music? Who was Ben growing up? Did you have any academic interests? Did you love anything, perhaps agriculture? Because daddy was in the business. Did you have anything you shared your attention amongst? I mean, music, because I know definitely music was a thing for you, but if you were not doing music, what else did you have interest in?
Oh, I hadn't. You know, I have a very wide, you know, range of interests, you know, and I still do. You know, I'm interested in architecture, you know, and I see architecture from a very unique point of view because I see it from a traditional and heritage point of view, you know, so I can see so many solutions to our, you know,
many housing issues,
epidemic of, you know, housing. You know, we have a crisis, you know, and yet we have solutions there, but nobody's looking at it, you know, that kind of thing. So I have interest in so many, you know, maybe too much.
Did you at any point in time growing up, you just painted a very clear picture for us. Your house was an enabling house for music. Parents would actually literally call you to say, hey, we're playing records, come and then perform for our guests. It means it's something they would welcome. Amongst your siblings, was there at any point pressure to maybe switch from doing what you're doing to get into something else? What were their interests, though? Were they also into music? Did they love music? Or
no,
were like the odd one out?
Yeah, I was the odd one out.
Okay.
I mean, my grandmother, my mom's mom, used to play the keyboard in the church.
Okay.
You know, so we always had a piano at home. And, you know, one of my uncles used to dabble with it. And I was the only one who would go and be interested in it. And for him to show me that I'll be pestering him with questions, you know. And so, I mean, it's a question of interest, really. You know, you only see what you can imagine or what's...
As far as your mind can go.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, were there any challenges? You had a grandma who would play the keyboard. Your uncle had interest in that. Your home was welcoming. They never told you, go and learn your books. Don't do this. Don't make sure you don't become an entertainer. Kanaki Bibi Papa, they never did that to you. But were there any challenges you faced as a young man trying to do music? Perhaps maybe when you started again, because I read that at a tender age you had gained some attention. People knew you.
Yeah.
Were there any challenges inside you felt, or any external challenges you had with your early stages in music? I mean, around that age?
Not really. The only thing was that my mom, when she noticed that I had genuine interest in music, told me to complete my university education.
University education?
As a fallback, just in case you know,
it doesn't work.
I lose interest or it doesn't work out the way I want, you know. So, and my dad just warned me that all the musicians he knew of eventually became drunkards, you know, and they'll go around drinking with everybody, and you know, and so he didn't think that it had great prospects, you know. But
The PR around doing that part of the job wasn't really good at that time.
yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Since you've mentioned, how important in your life now do you think it is for young aspiring musicians to have access to quality education and training, or some form of formal training?
Well,
You did it.
Yeah, but you see, training by itself, I mean, the educational system, that's not a man make, you know, because we have so many, you know, people who have had all the training and everything, and yet still, you know, they still lack knowledge. You know what I mean? And I hate to do this, but I have to give an
Let's do it.
example of, like, look, all our leaders have come from, you know, big schools, good schools, and all that, and yet they don't seem to have a clue. You know, the country is.
Can I lend you words? It's in shambles.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's,
Oh, that's
it's
too harsh.
going down the drain. Yeah, no, that's not too harsh. It's real. I mean, Ghana should be much higher than where it is. You know, considering that we have smart people, at least people who think they are smart, smarter than everybody, you know, and they've been to school and all that. So school is not necessarily the panacea, you know, but I think that we're missing something, and that is our culture, because there's a lot of traditional knowledge that is so important that we need to bring to bear. In fact, we need to work from that basis and then bring other things to bear. Okay, because you find that any society that is progressing in the world today are people who believe in their culture.
Yeah. People who are not, who haven't drifted from their culture.
Yes.
They have an identity.
Yeah, they have an identity, you know, and they have a heritage that, you know, they try to preserve and improve, you know. So if you reject your culture, you're in trouble. You are a slave in disguise.
You're pretty much just throwing yourself away. Let's talk about, still on that, the early age music. At this point, I know Mommy had told you, you know what, you can pursue it full time after you're able to get to that level of education. Did that work?
Yeah, it worked for me because I was still doing music anyway.
Okay.
You know, but not professionally. You know, but I was doing shows in public. You know, with my students, my fellow students, and even in the university, I formed a band. But that was primarily to test my own music. You know, so we only played my music. You know, and so I got to find out that it resonated with a lot of people, and so I was confident that, you know, I should and I would do it.
Did you at any point tell yourself, you know what, Mommy said I should come around this space and then at least finish on this side as a backup, and now I'm here and it feels good, maybe I might go another level with it?
Well, I mean, when I finished the uni, I taught in Achimota for a year. And then I went into the corporate world, shipping and commodities, you know, and I was doing very well.
Around that time, were you still popular?
Yeah, well, among those who knew me, you know, but I mean, I wasn't indulging at that point because I was in the corporate world, and it was difficult for me to be going to nightclubs and singing and all that, you
And
know.
still showing up at 8 a.m.
Yeah. So, but, you know, after a while, I realized that my life was empty. You know, there was something missing. And I feared one day growing up, waking up to realize I'm an old man and not having done my music. You know, so I just put everything aside and went into music.
I'm very interested in getting deeper into this. You had pretty much completed your education, furthered it, you got a job in the corporate space. Around this time you were still playing music, doing it, but you were not very, very involved in.
I wasn't involved in public shows or anything.
Yeah, because you're trying to really balance it and not have it really have a big toll on your corporate life. Obviously, because maybe money was coming in, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, you woke up and said, this is not it.
I felt there was an emptiness in my life, which money, cars, and nice homes and travel did not take care of.
What did it take for you to realize this? Do you remember the moments? Because I'm trying to connect with this. I say this because I am a creative myself. I'm in this space. I've been in this space for 10 years, and you see, I meet friends. There's, for instance, one I can't put names to this, but there's one who's been in the music scene for a while. Last month, I met him at the airport leaving Ghana. I asked him, I thought he was actually visiting and coming back. He told me, you know what, this is not it. I'm really not making ends meet from this, and so I'm leaving to pursue a better life. And I've met people too who left a while ago and came back and said, you know what, I went for that. It was giving me the peace, but I felt it was empty. And so I'm really trying to relate to that and also find that balance. At what point do you get to that? Must things fail? In your case, things were not failing. Money was coming in. I'm not sure you were doing bad at the job, but you still felt something that made you believe there was an emptiness in there.
Yeah.
What is that? At that moment, what do you feel, or what happens to you? What crosses your mind?
Well, you feel that you are like on a trip that is not really yours. So you're just following. Everybody says, this world, they tell you that this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to be, these are the rules, this is the way. And a lot of people follow that. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I couldn't conform to those kind of rules, and so it became obvious to me very quickly that, this thing wasn't cutting it for me,
And so when you decided to drop that side of your life and go back to your true calling, one that gave you meaning, one that would fill the vacuum you had in your life, what were the reactions you had? Because I'm sure you were excelling at your work, your colleagues, you had built business connections. Did some at any point call you and say, hey, I think you're going crazy?
Oh yeah, some still say that.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of my colleagues have become very successful in business, and they keep telling me, why are you wasting your time, with this music thing, because,
Even at your age?
Yeah, at my age. I mean, not so much anymore, but I mean,
every now and then,
yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, but you see, people, it takes different things to satisfy different people.
Yeah.
We all have different aims, and desires.
I think success for you is not success for somebody.
Yes.
We all have our defined, perceptions and actions around success. Still on that tangent, so you decided to drop the corporate side and come back to doing it full time. What were some of the new things you had to do in order to regain that feeling you had and the interest you had in music?
Yeah, first of all, I was in the corporate world in Ghana, and it was difficult for me. So I went to London, where I have family, and I started on a clean slate, and I just started, finding out about the music industry there, how to access it, find out some musicians and all that, But you see, even my friends who went straight into music, they thought I was on a trip, an ego trip, So they were just humoring me, But I experimented, found out what to do, and I just went for it.
Do you believe in fate?
In a way, I think that you are born with certain things, and could be a lot of things, but what you actually develop and evolve to be is partially fate and partially your own inclinations, your own mind, how you develop things.
I understand you went to London to explore the new horizon in what you wanted to do with your life musically. Had you had a hit song did you have a record you could say was known in Ghana? Were you on this level you were? Or at that point, you had still not really found your feet with the...
No, I hadn't. I mean, when I used to play all these, the only time when I did my own song was when I formed a band called Agroma Guduriba in the University of Ghana. So at that point, I was only testing.
Yeah, you mentioned
my
that
songwriting. Yeah, because I was very prolific. You know, most of my hit songs I wrote in Legon.
Back in uni.
Yeah. So when I went to England, first I did a single recording just to see how it will turn out. You know, and I never really released it, but you know, it got out.
Do you remember the lyrics?
Oh, I remember everything.
We'll get to that in a bit. I'm sure my listeners are wondering, oh, is he going to sing it for us? We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, you started, so now at that point things were changing. Your writing skills were improving. Everything was different.
Yeah, well, my production skills I'd written already. So, you know, it was just a question of learning the industry and how to get the best out of, you know, with the resources I had, you know, so... That was just, I just went for it.
How different were things? You had, correct me if I'm wrong, before this time, had you been to London? Before the time you decided to move and then
I went to London on business issues and stuff like that.
But not for music?
No.
Okay.
I didn't go to stay.
Yeah.
You know, this time I went to stay.
You went to actually stay.
Yeah.
When you started learning the things you saw, when you started experiencing the things that you were experiencing, how did you see Ghana and the music scene? How did you see things your friends were doing? Because obviously these were new and improved ways. Did you ever feel, okay, this is it, I might not have to even go back to Ghana at any point? No. Was there a feeling like that?
No, it never occurred to me that, you know, that way. I mean, the facilities were not that different, just more, you know, more available, you know, yeah. Those days it was still not digital, what do you call it? Analog. Yeah.
Do you remember people you met in London then that, you know, helped you?
Oh, yes, I met a lot of people. I met some of my own mates. I mean, I met like Alfred Barneman.
Okay.
You know, he was in Infantsville. He was with the school band in Infantsville.
Okay. And you were with the school band?
Yeah, he's actually my uncle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I met so many people. Bessa Simons was there.
Oh, great.
We grew up in the same area in Cape Coast, you know, and his father was also an organist in the church in Cape Coast, you know, so we rubbed shoulders, you know. I met so many people.
How impactful was your trip, that particular one, not the previous business ones, the one you had to embark on to find your chi when you were not really feeling things you were doing here in Ghana? How impactful was it to your music career? I mean, if you were to rank it.
It was everything, because I had difficulty going into music in Ghana from, you know, the circles and the wells, you know, moving, you know. So a lot of people were surprised, you know, to hear, you know, my music products, because they saw me as a completely different thing, you know. But moving changed everything for me, because it gave me a clean slate, like I said, you know, the freedom to, you know, do the things I wanted to do.
At this point, had you begun making a family for yourself?
Yes. I began making a family.
I like the way I put that. Yeah, because I asked in that way because you had tried the corporate field, and in all that, you never really mentioned that bit. But I know at some point a man has to, you know, form his own family, regardless. No matter how fast or slow life is going, you'd have to do that. Did you, by any chance, did that also happen in London?
It started here.
Okay.
I actually got married here, but, you know, it was a lot of pressure on me to get married and settle down. They thought, you know, I was doing the women thing too much, you know. They thought it was irresponsible, you know, that kind of thing. So I got married, but I wasn't happy. Okay. You know, so the marriage didn't last. And then I got into a serious relationship, and we had a child. But then I had a previous child.
Okay.
Anyway,
In your previous marriage, okay.
Not a previous marriage. Just when I couldn't go home, I went about messing about and got a child from it, a beautiful child. So we all went to London, and so I had a family, a nucleus of family there,
So let me ask, around this time you're trying to learn new things and reinvent your style of music and really do it well, and I picked this from all you said. You didn't just want to do music. Ben Brako wanted to do music and do music right. He didn't want to do music like his peers were doing here in Ghana. And he didn't want to disappoint where he came from, because at some point mommy said, if this doesn't go well, maybe education will help you. And you had to try the route, done the corporate side, and still didn't feel accomplished. And so if you were going to do the music, you had to do it right. It definitely meant hard work, extra dedication, time, and discipline. You had traveled with your family to the UK, and you had to find the elements that brings you money to sustain your family as well. How did you balance all this? What are some of the elements you had to employ as a young man? Did you have to sacrifice time with friends, quit partying? What did you have to do?
That's interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, I did dabble a bit, in business. I did dabble a bit in business, and I had some savings, earnings that I carried with me that tided me over, and helped me to do my recordings and stuff, and take care of business.
Around that time, was high life the only option for you? What kind of genres were big then? I know for a fact reggae was also there, but what informed your decision to, aside identity, because I know you come back to that, the fact that you were from here and you loved your origin, you loved your roots.
It's not only that. I mean, the music that comes from me was that of that nature. I mean, when we were
even
young,
when you were in London.
Yeah, but I mean, I took the music with me.
Yes.
It's not something I created in London. I created a lot of the music in Ghana when I was in the university. So that is the music that came to me, and music just comes to me, So it wasn't something that I had to struggle with. There was no other, feelings for any other music, even though I believe in the universality of music, because there is commonality. As you can see, reggae can resound with high life,
Yes.
Very well, and so many other music, because I did a track, and sometimes I try to prove these things, in my music, because one of my latest tracks, it's been some time now though, called Shame and Scandal. It's the only track I've done that I didn't write.
The only?
Yeah.
Out of all your records?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shame and Scandal. It's an original like Trinidadian song, and I just did it high life.
Wow.
I did the high life, and they loved it, because it did very well, in the black community in the UK.
So how long did you stay there? Because it was an experimental thing you did. You wanted to go train and improve yourself. At some point, didn't you feel, okay, Mary Margaretty?
In general.
Mary Margaretty. Remember back now. How many years did you stay there?
I stayed there. Sunday I overstayed, over 20 years.
Wow.
And one day I just came to Ghana for a show, and I said, that's it, I'm not going back.
No more.
I just ain't going back,
What's that first song that gave you an understanding into who you were going to become and who you had become here in the Ghanaian music scene? What song blew you to become a household name here in Ghana? And how did you even find out then? I mean, maybe now.
Well, let's put it this way: the first song that I wrote in my room in Legon, is Mary.
Okay.
Marguerite,
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a guitar, and most evenings I'd be sitting there, messing about, and that expression came to me, and then I created the lyrics with it, So that's a very important song for me, I think that because I came out on an album, and a lot of the tracks on the album resonated with the public, so it all worked together at the same time. Okay, so tracks like Etui, Etui is very important for me.
Why?
Because it speaks my language and what I'm talking about, what I'm about, my outlook. So if you understand Etui, you will see what I'm talking about.
And what's the name of that album?
Baya.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was the first album that got you into the scene proper.
Yeah.
Made people know that. But the first song you wrote, you loved, was Mary. And so the album, was it on the album?
Yeah.
Okay. And through that became one of the favorites for the people.
That's right.
Okay. Now, at this point, were you still in London or you had returned?
I was still in London.
You were still in London.
Yeah, but
so
I
it was
used to
bringing
come,
you down for shows and that.
Yeah.
Okay. At what point did you start realizing money and financial returns from the music?
Oh, it was more or less immediately after releasing Baya, because it was such an immediate resounding success, that I was earning money from the sales and, from invites and, shows and stuff like that. Yeah.
I asked this question because now, I mean, in our time, in our space, the digital space works such that once the record is out, it has an identity. And so wherever it goes, it brings in money. All the platforms, they're streaming, it's bringing you returns. When you have a show, you charge huge, money comes in, or a brand uses it perhaps, and pays you a huge sum of money, and then you keep. Around that time, how did the payment system work? When an artist like you puts out music and it becomes the people's favorite, how do you even know it's a people's favorite? Where were you getting the stats? And who was paying you the money? When you say it was bringing in money, sales from it.
It's sales.
How are you getting it?
Mainly sales.
Okay.
I mean, you produce the
physical records, the cassettes, right?
The cassettes,
okay.
and then
the vinyl.
LP, the vinyl. And you come out and work through one of the distributors, and they know where to channel them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they bring you back the money.
Yeah. I mean, they pay a deposit for it, because there's demand. They are willing to pay a deposit for it and then pay your balance when it's sold.
So the first album became big. Do you remember the first figure you received for it? Would you remember? No. I'm trying to do some math.
I think that the first serious, significant, I should say, money that I had from it was like £5,000. Because
which year would this be?
God, you're taking me back now. This was 68.
And you made £5,000. That was the first payment.
Yeah.
It would keep coming, but this was the first significant amount you received from it.
Yeah. Because I had somebody taking care of my products here, and sold and changed the money and sent it to me.
£5,000 would be the first amount of money you received, and this was Ghana.
Yeah.
Did you receive any from there? Because there were Ghanaians in the diaspora.
Yeah, also. I was selling there too.
Okay. So you were selling yourself there?
Yeah, I mean, I was selling to the shops that dealt with African music and exotic music and stuff like that.
Do you remember what you did with the 5,000?
Spent it.
Spent it on what?
Oh, well.
You had family.
I had responsibilities, and I had projects that I needed to do, and all kinds of things.
And then some kept coming in. At this point, you were assured, you were convinced that, you know what, this is going to work.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, the market was so unregulated that I lost a lot of money. You know, the potential, the amount of sales that my music made compared to the proportion I got, you know, was not good. You know, piracy was
a thing.
Rife. Yes.
Because then you would put the records out and send it to the distributors, and people will also buy the copies and redo them and sell
and reproduce cassettes.
Did you at any point get in contact with one of your pieces that you knew didn't come from you?
I actually bought a cassette that was a pirated copy, you know, and the guy sold it to me.
Did
I
he know
bought
who
2
you
copies. Yeah, they knew who I was. Some people would say that, with the Maton records, you know.
And you didn't distribute to them?
No, they were not distributors. They would just either copy and sell, as they still do, you know, or they actually reproduce the album, you know, and do their own cover for it, you know, and distribute it.
Uncle, you know what? Let's talk about something extra serious here. You've mentioned a very important part of our music. We're looking at growth for our industry. We're looking at growth for our music here in Ghana and beyond. This would be in the 60s. You mentioned that we live in a country where our problems are problems, but we have solutions lying by us, but we don't even recognize them, and so we move. It's been so many years. Has there been efforts to combat these things? Because you mentioned that it's still getting done. Piracy and breaks in distribution and returns for creatives and artists like you. When you make your product, you're supposed to earn what you're supposed to earn for it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there are a lot of unscrupulous channels that are diverting the money from you, the creatives and the creators, to other pockets. As a music economy, you have known the history for long. Has there been steps to combat this? Have we done anything? Do you think there's a solution? If there's a solution, what do you think can be done? Because other economies have done it.
There are always possible solutions, you know. It's in Ghana, for instance, the media uses our products
for free
and doesn't pay. You know,
I agree.
To be quite blunt, you know. And, you know, it's been a struggle getting them to actually document what they've used, you know.
And what they've used it for.
Yeah. No, it doesn't even matter so much what they use it for, because it's invariably it's airplay or, you know, something. The hotels use the music, they don't
Pubs,
play.
clubs.
Yeah, all over, you know. And it's, you know, it's like getting water out of stone. Trying to get, you know, them to pay or even to follow the regulations, you know. I mean, we can always negotiate, you know, the minimum significant payment for using intellectual property, but they refuse, you know, and they fight it, you know. And I think our people too have not either had the support or been strong enough, you know. I mean, our reps, you know, in terms of
and this
royalties.
This is from the legislative side.
Yeah, so we fought a lot and got the legislation done, you know, but enforcing it became another matter.
Who even enforces it in the first place?
Yeah, well, you try and go around and maybe arrest a few people, but you'll be arresting the little guys who are just peddling it on the streets.
And the big fishes are...
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. And it never really, the problem was never really solved.
Uncle Ben, do you think it's a lost battle? Do you think it's something we should be learning to live with because nothing can be done about it here in Ghana?
No, but I think that if there is serious focus, you know, of the industry itself, including government, you know, on these issues, it can be solved, you know. It cannot be totally solved, but to a large extent, you know. I mean, people will get what they've worked hard for, what they deserve for their hard work, and it will encourage, you know, so many people to also embark on that journey. You know, we have a lot of creative people, you know. I'm not talking just about music.
Yeah, creators in general.
Yeah.
Producers.
You know,
and you see, I hate to bring this up, but I feel so much is being missed, and it keeps coming back to our faces because every now and then you have a very great musician or a great producer from the past whose lives will go down the drain because they are unable to financially support themselves. But then their records are everywhere. You know, they've made beautiful music, timeless music. And when you compare the impact they've had on our music scene, people who have had similar impacts in other music economies are living wild of the investments. They're living wild of the protection the government even gives them. How do you feel as an artist? You know, you're still an artist, a big one. How do you feel when you sit, you open your phone or you go online or you're listening to the news and you hear some of your colleagues who you knew worked so hard and put in blood and sweat to create what they created for themselves go down the drain because they are unable to even pay their hospital bills?
Yeah.
Do you think we failed people like you? Do you think that the country itself, the economy, has failed creatives like you from the past who have worked so hard?
Not only creatives, you know, they failed. The economy has failed the majority of Ghanaians. You know, sometimes, to be honest with you, the government acts as if it's an enemy of its own people. You know, and it's because of the nature of the governance. It is an alien system. It is not ours. The ordinary people do not understand or work with it. You know, and even traditionally, they call it Aban. You know what Aban means? You know what Aban means?
Aban. Today, one of our governments now. What's it?
You know the origin of the word.
Okay.
Aban is from the word Eban. You know what Eban? War.
No,
it's a garrison.
Okay.
So these people came and instituted, you know, their own
system.
Their own system, which to our people was like a garrison. You know, so they came and intruded and imposed the system. And so traditionally they say the Aban Wonfonsia. When because it came to use you, so you have to use it. So that's why people have no qualm spending government money.
That's true. Now that you're mentioning it,
yeah, you know. And apart from that, the issue is that this system that was introduced by our imperialists, these people, we are still carrying on the same system today. And you know,
there's been no
praising
reform.
it to high heaven as if it's something special, you know. But you know, if you go to the rural areas, you know, there's no government except when there's money to collect.
That's true.
It's the traditional system that takes care of people, you know, and they know how to. They know where to go when they have an issue, because they can't go to the police station, they can't go to the courts, okay. But then if they go to the chief's house, they will get redress. Okay, and that's the majority of our people. That's their understanding. So you're talking about culture.
Yeah.
A culture is the way people do things or understand how things are done. Okay, and the government system we have does not work with the culture of our people. So sometimes it looks like the people are just a nuisance.
It's basically like a system in isolation.
Yes.
And we look like trouble, but we deserve it, you know. But then the system, just like you mentioned, that's a very clear, you know, explanation. And whoever's listening, that's paying attention, would really understand where we're coming from. It's not meant for us, but we are holding it, and we're holding it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so the people working. Says through the toil and fall of our forefathers. All these things are gone. Now the forefathers are even suffering. You know. But let me ask this too. I'm a very progressive person. Go on.
Look, there's Santahene, you know, and I praise him a lot because he's a very wise man. You know, one of his chiefs, you know, there was a ban on redwood. You know, the cutting down and export of redwood. One of his chiefs actually indulged in that business, sold it to the Chinese, and traditionally as a punishment, you know what Asantehene did?
No, tell us.
He sentenced him. He asked him to replant, you know, like maybe 10 trees for everyone that he took away.
So if you took 100, he's doing 10-fold of that.
Yes, you see what I mean? And this is pure wisdom.
Yeah.
You know? But if it had gone to the courts,
maybe pay a compensation of 10,000 Ghana cedis or something. And that might go to someone's pocket. It will go to someone's pocket.
You know? And then it will continue. You know, just the same way as Galamsey is happening. You know? Let me give you another example. You know, traditionally, we revere things, and sometimes even they claim that we worship our rivers and our big trees. You know, but there's a very good reason for that. You know, if we still revered our rivers, you think that we won't be
doing galamsey in there.
And the reason why we revere them is because they are crucial to our well-being and lives.
They're part of us.
You know, you sitting here, you are about at least 70% water.
Yes.
You know,
and so if we're killing the water bodies, we're killing ourselves.
Thank you.
I want to, with your permission, I want to veer off that a bit. Still stay on the line, but I'm a progressive person. I like to ask for what has been done. This is the system we're in. This system we've known doesn't protect our creatives. It doesn't protect the people itself. In your many years of being in the industry, have you at any point been approached by a conversation that sounds progressive? Perhaps any government or body that has come that has said, you know what, we want to sit with you and discuss ways to improve things. Has there been that? And has it been positive? Or it's one of those things?
There have been
several.
And this is individuals,
okay.
You know, who have, you know, maybe an understanding of what it should be.
Yeah.
But as a body, as a government body, or you know,
an economy,
we don't even appreciate, you know, our culture. You know, we don't. The government does not recognize our culture in the proper way.
Yeah.
You know, because it is not. The government is not part of our culture. You know. And unless we sankofa and then evolve it with all the new skills we have, we're not going anywhere. Like I said before, you know, every progressive community has come from within, from their culture.
And they can be identified for that.
That's right.
On identity, so for years we've had conversations about Ghanaian music and the rest of the world, how, you know, we have big songs, we have big stars coming out of Ghana. I personally know how the great ones from the past, those CBSS, the Ben Brakos, the late Nana George Ampem Darkos, the Daddy Lumbers, the Nana Champons, the Bessa Simons, made music that was embraced by the world. Nigeria, South Africa, the music traveled far and wide. These days, you constantly have conversations on TV, radio about where Ghana music is going as a whole. The fact that our music isn't really able to cross over, we're not getting a lot of the great ones who are great here crossing over. So many solutions have come up. People seem to believe it's because we don't have an identity. It's because we are not. Some are even saying it's because we sing in Chi. Others are saying we don't sing in English. It's a whole lot. But people like you sang in Chi, sang in English, and the music still went. Then there were no channels to distribute music like there is now. There was piracy and all that, but your music still went far wide. Ghanaian music was Ghanaian music. High life was still out there. What opinion do you have about our current music dispensation? Why do you think the conversations being had about our music is what it is? Do you also personally think our music is not crossing over? And do you think we don't have an identity like people are saying? It's about 3 questions in one, but then I just want to understand where you sit with this. Do you think we're doing things wrong? If we're doing things wrong, what are we doing wrong?
Well, what we're doing wrong essentially is we're not investing in our arts in the right way.
Okay.
You know, we're not investing at all, actually. You know, the Nigerians had a breakthrough. You know, they used to call them the 419 people.
Yes. That was the image they had.
Yeah.
The scammers.
Until music came.
Yeah.
Their music, you know, reached out. And, you know, it's because they invested in the right way. You know, they connected with the right people worldwide, and people began to listen because they had exposure. And the quality of their production, the quality of the personnel they used, everything came together to work, for them. But in Ghana, you hardly have people in the corporate world investing in the arts. You understand? Or even the government for that matter, investing in the arts. I mean, sometimes they will do things like Panafest, and all that. But, even that, they don't go all out, they should go all out. And it's a great export. Nigeria is benefiting a lot. Yeah. I remember the Beatles were knighted in England because they brought so much money from all over the world. Yeah. And the world right now is looking for the music, okay? And High Life has a great chance because High Life resounds with so many other types of music, because High Life is a rhythm, and we should be able to do it right and occupy that space. That's what it's all about, We're not doing it right because we're not even seeing it. And if you can't see something,
you can't do it.
You can't realize it.
If you can't see it, you can't do it.
No.
That's like the first rule. We're not investing right. So that makes sense. It makes so much sense because how are you trying to drive a Bugatti with a trotro budget?
You see that?
No, honestly. No, let's think about it. There are economies who are putting so much into music. Their music greats are getting investments. They are well represented. Their music, you see,
and they go for quality.
Yes,
excellence.
Once
always.
We don't see the product as an export, we failed.
Yeah.
Because if the music goes, now look at what Nigeria is doing. Wherever Davido goes, Nigeria goes.
Yeah.
Wherever Burna Boy goes, Nigeria goes. Medical was over in London over the weekend. Daddy Lumba played in London. Ghana was there. We need more of these things, but it's investments. Who is putting in money? Who is representing them?
Yeah.
Let me even ask, can an artist walk into a bank and ask for a loan for just being an artist? Have you ever done that? Can it be done? No, I stand to be corrected.
Please.
You've been around for a while,
Please, stop making it look as ridiculous as it really is.
He basically means stop, don't stop.
Yeah. No, in the first place, how many of the people in authority even believe or hitherto have believed in high life music? All the people at the top, they've subscribed to the James Browns, the Aretha's.
But I'll tell you what, if you really follow it well, I wouldn't want to mention names, but the ceremonial events for all these big people, they call the high life artists to come perform. And so, how are you patronizing us, but not really putting yourself there for us? Do you get my point?
Yeah, I get your point.
They always run back to you. If they want something elite, they come back to you. But then where's the investment?
Well,
who has put in a policy?
I mean, first of all, our people are affordable for them, and also a lot of, at least locally, the music is acceptable, a lot. So it works for them. But we're talking about a different level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're talking about a level where the whole international, and this business about the language, it's not right, because we have sung songs. Joromi, do you understand Joromi?
I don't know.
Was that Atar?
But I don't know the name.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and we sang all the lyrics. We sang it every day, and people still sing it. Nobody understood the word. So when the music resounds with you, it doesn't matter.
There's music from Yusu Ndo I barely understand.
Yes,
Yvonne Chaka Chaka, you never really understood what they said, but it still worked. And so I personally don't even subscribe to the whole Chi idea. The fact that if you do music in Chi, your music won't cross over.
No, it's not true, because you have instrumentals anyway, and in some instrumentals, I mean, they are good. You love them, and they give you a certain feeling, And I think that is what is important in music.
Okay.
The lyrics are just an extra, And if the lyrics resound with the melody, then you have a great hit. But
one more question on that. What do you feel or think about our constantly creating music genres as against continuing what already exists? Because as we speak, there's a piano from South Africa, but we have Gapiano. I don't know if you've heard about it, but that's like Ghana Amapiano. Azonto became a thing along the line. Al Qaeda came. I'm really trying to stay in character and not mention the wrong ones, but then there's been so many pretty much. I'm sure you sit in a space where you see talent and you see proper talent. You see people who bear qualities of good high life artists. How do you feel when very promising and talented people just wake up and create genres that are far from what they are supposed to be identified for? Do you think it's even an issue in the first place, or you think it's fine? I mean, it's a creative space, so you can just create anything and then run with it once it works?
Well, let's just say that culture is a dynamic thing.
Okay.
So it evolves, it changes, and you're bound to have influences from different places coming together. And there's bound to be different
touch and twist to it.
And sometimes you can label this, like even High Life, they have something called Burger High Life. They have Palm Wine High Life. They have Guitar Band High Life. They have Big Band High Life. You see what I mean? And now they have Hip Life.
Okay.
And Hip Life is really High Life, but with rap over it.
Yes.
Yes. So, some of the genres are just sub-genres, really, And when you get really deep into it, you find that calypso, reggae, and all these are, work with the High Life rhythm, And so I think that High Life really is international in terms of the rhythm that, underpins it. You see what I mean? So we just need to, do it right, and it will sell itself.
What do you think is making High Life as a genre unattractive for the new wave of artists? I'm sure I know artists who do High Life music, but when they cross borders and they are asked on platforms what they do, they coil it with a different name. It sounds as if High Life is for, excuse my language, the old, and outmoded. How do you feel when you see that?
Well, I think that they're wrong.
Okay,
because we have great High Life artists like Kofi Kinata, who is very young, and he's doing very well. We've had Kwabla, we've had Mr. Kede, we've had so many, but I don't know. I mean, even Stonebwoy, a lot of his songs actually resound with High Life.
Yes.
I see. And that's why I was telling you in the beginning that I did Shame and Scandal, a Trinidadian song.
Yeah.
And I did it High Life. And
that's the only song you didn't write that you did.
Yes.
I'm keeping that on records.
Yeah. So, they all come from the same mother, and the mother is High Life.
Do you get the chance to educate and advise the new wave of artists? Do they even listen when you talk to them? This one, let's say it. I know you want to hold back on it, but we'll take a futu.
No. I mean, so many of them try to attract my attention.
Okay.
Some say they want advice, but really, it turns out that a lot of times they just want connections, and But if it doesn't resound with me, it's difficult for me. I mean, I'll try and help them with their genres, but that is not my genre, so I don't really know enough, about the people who handle those kind of music.
What things put you off when it comes to music, whether you're recording or you're performing? If you attend an event, what things will make Ben Brako get out of the mood and want to leave, or wouldn't want to continue whatever he's doing? I'm sure there must be things. I know people who don't like it when you back them vocally, I know people who don't like it when you come up on stage to throw money on them. What 3 things? Let's keep it with 3.
Well, first of all, the musicianship, the level of musicianship, for goodness sake, if this is your trade, do it and do it well. I mean, you can't take bathroom singing and go and put it on stage for people to pay money what they can do themselves. You see what I mean? And, turn out. I hate it when people dress anyhow. You're an entertainer. You have to do something, to attract people. For it to be worth your while to even look at you. If they dress better than you, what's the point? You see what I mean? And then one of my pet hates is
I like the smile before this one.
People who copy other culture. I mean, you come to a stage, you're performing, you're a Ghanaian artist, and you're wearing
leather jackets,
baseball cap, jeans, tatty jeans, and you're holding your crotch and trying to be, you see what I mean?
Yeah. I think it all comes back to identity, right?
It is very much an issue of identity and knowing who you are
and where you're from.
Because if you don't know where you are, it's easy to copy
blindly
rubbish. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I love that. If now these days, if you're not recording, let me just rephrase this. When you wake up, take us through your day. Do you train? Do you do vocal training? Between 11 and let's say 1, what do you do? Take us through a regular day with Ben Brako.
Well, I wake up very early.
Okay. How early?
Sometimes 3 o'clock.
That's when we are going to sleep.
Yeah, sometimes I sleep even after 3.
Okay.
But I've trained myself in such a way that if I'm going to try to retire at 3, I'll be waking up at the same time.
Wow.
More or less, I mean, it's not written in stone. But, and so when I wake up in the morning, first of all, I recognize the fact that I have another day, a fresh day.
Yeah.
It's a fresh plate for me to do stuff. So, I recognize the gift it is. I recognize that I'm a creation.
Yeah.
Of God, and therefore I am of God. You understand?
I understand.
And like the wave is part of the ocean and has every element of all the elements of the ocean, I have
elements of God.
Yes. And I try to recognize that I am. The fact that I am is because God is. You see what I mean? So that empowers me and gives me all the confidence I need to go out and do the things. And then I start thinking about things, what I need to do for the day. I start making notes, all kinds of things. Hey, I have a disciplined way of doing things. Yeah, and I have times when I practice.
Okay.
My singing. I consult. I have a music tutor.
Okay.
A singing tutor, I mean.
Who comes through to...
Yeah, not whenever it's possible, but I mean, they give me the apparatus, the data for me to work with.
Did any of your children take after you musically? Do you also call any of them to come and perform for your friends?
No. They're not that interested in music. But I mean, my son that Chrissy, you know back with, he's more of a creative person. Yeah.
Very great guy. Kwesi is the guy, actually. Now, do you think... Oh my God, sorry. Ijoma is going to beat me. Kindly adjust this for me. Quick. Perfect, thank you. Do you think there's going to be a point where things become better for us as a music economy? We've said so much. We've shared solutions, but when you dream, when you close your eyes, do you see a time where all the problems we have vanish and things become nicer as an economy? Do you think it can happen?
It has, yeah. I believe very much so that it can happen. And I think people are becoming more and more aware that their heritage and culture that they've been trained to look down on is rather the only valuable thing that they have, and eventually to down on people that it's the only way out for us to be free and to be creative and to progress.
Okay. Great. What moment in your music journey would you describe as the most memorable or iconic for you? A moment you still remember today? Maybe you haven't shared it anywhere before.
Well, one of my biggest dreams was to walk into a club. Okay, and people are jamming to my song. I dreamed about it a lot, and one day it happened.
Wow!
And it was amazing.
Where did it happen? In London?
No, here.
Here in Ghana.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's something you had seen in your dreams, like always dreamt about, and it finally happened.
Yeah.
Did you go out to your car and tear up a bit?
No. I was overjoyed.
Yeah.
I thought that, this is it. I've achieved one of my big dreams.
Now, one of the reasons for us being very honest on this particular platform is for people to relate and learn. I just asked you about your most memorable, your top moments. Do you have a down moment, like the worst moment in your music career, something that happened that had you thinking, something that was supposed to break you? I mean, obviously we're sitting here today, so it didn't break you, but do you have like a worst moment?
Well, there have been a few downs, but invariably in life you get them, and you got to learn to not to take them as death, overall, because there's always positives to look at, and to build on, So at first it was difficult for me to handle people being vicious, and trying to create this harmony, and all kinds of things. So when I hear of stories, concocted stories about myself, it used to really bother me.
What's the worst you've heard about yourself? Something that almost broke you? Something probably that wasn't true. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't true.
Well, nothing was going to break me. I mean, but one time I was in the US visiting. I was actually doing a recording there, and then my mom rang me, and when I answered the phone, she heaved a sigh of relief. I said, "What is it?" I said, "They say you've been arrested for smuggling cocaine." I said, "What?" And it was a big rumor that swept around,
Websites had picked it up.
All over. So I said, no, obviously, I'm not involved in anything like that, I don't do that. And, it bothered my mom a lot, but when she spoke to me, she got relieved, and I just hated that such a thing could happen.
Yeah, someone just wake up and...
the thing is, if you keep throwing SHIT something, so some people will still carry it with them, but me, I know who I am, and these things help me much. So sometimes you go through hard times and you hate it, but they help you, refine yourself. You understand? So I appreciate the hard times I get now because
we're grateful for them.
Yeah, because
it shapes us.
Yeah, it makes me go higher.
Next level. I like that. Uncle, let me ask this question, right? Would you at any point consider retiring from music? Will it ever happen? Or do you think people living have to retire from doing music?
Music is not that kind. It's not an artificial profession.
I like that.
You understand? So you don't retire from music. Maybe you lessen your involvement. But as a musician, if you're a real musician, it lives in you.
It's with you. It's you.
You see, the beauty about it is that it is something that you would do even if you're not being paid. You see, that is the greatest profession. That you do it anyway, you know. So I don't think about retiring.
Okay.
You know.
You haven't done. I stand to be corrected. You haven't done a lot of collabos. I'm saying a lot of because maybe there might be one with our new generation of artists. Okay. But let me ask this way: if you're listening to music now, if you decide to sit down and browse through wherever you listen to music from to listen to songs, which new are kind of sensation, which artists are you listening to, and is there any you eye for a collabo at some point you would reconsider maybe redoing one of your songs with, or probably hopping on a new song with?
Yeah, many of them, you know. I mean, it's just that I have done some collabs.
Okay.
You know, I have one with TikTok.
Okay. Yes, I remember the one with TikTok.
Yeah,
yes.
I've done one with Chami Kwame, but I never released.
Yeah.
I have so many songs I haven't released. I've done one with what's this?
Is it Samini?
No, Black.
Black Rasta or Sharif?
No, not Sharif.
Black Prophet?
No.
Black Santino?
No, I don't even know him. Jesus, it's not D Black. It's the other Black.
There's another Black apart from D Black?
Yeah.
My God, why are we all here like this? Black. Team Jizzy, you are the MC. They are done. The Blacks are done, right?
They're not done. Maybe I remember as we go on. You know. Yeah.
What do you look out for before you decide to jump on a song with an artist?
No, I mean I look at their artistry, you know, and you know, there are many that I've intended to work with, but I just haven't been hitting the studio for some time, you know, because I'm reconsidering everything. I think at this stage, when I come out with something, it has to be resounding.
I'm going to ask two final questions and then we're done, because I know Daddy has to go back to his plans. At some point, I mean, in our growing up, music was a part of our education. It was a prerequisite, you know, course. Music and dance. I asked around, and I stand to be corrected. I asked before I came on the show today. It's not as enforced as it used to be back then. Do you think courses like that should run through our education till maybe the tertiary level, or at some point it should become an optional thing, music and dance? Because I believe yes, but what is your opinion on that? Do you think it's something we should teach right from the grassroots all the way to the top?
Well, I mean, we should teach from the grassroots, but you see, the way education is, you know, it's divorced from the way our system of education is. It's divorced from our reality.
Okay.
So we grow up not knowing who we are and how to even relate to our own people. You understand? A lot of us do not even know how to greet properly.
Yes.
Okay. Because we do it very casually, as if do not know how to address people. We have a very, sophisticated way of doing so many things. So we should be able to build this into our educational system. Now, education is defined as knowledge of your own culture and heritage. So if you're an illiterate, if you do not know your culture and your heritage, that is the strict definition of education. Now we are we're so-called educated in other cultures. So we do not even understand. And look, I'll give you a simple example. Look at our town planners, and stuff. You see how hot Accra is today?
Yes, very hot. It rains a little bit too.
Why?
Because they've cut down all the trees.
Thank you. And that is part of town planning. You should know that you and trees, there's a symbiotic relationship. Without trees, you not survive. And yet we don't seem to take that on board. And one of the beautiful things that Asante Hene has done in Kumasi is built a great wall. Have you seen that?
Yes.
And it's a forest right in the middle of. But when I said, I nearly cried. It was so beautiful.
It's beautiful. When you drive from Edum, the Harper Road to Ishiaso, by the City Hotel, they still reserve that forest. It's still there.
Yeah.
And nobody is allowed to build there whatsoever. Yeah.
And right in the middle of town, they build this big wall. And it's forest, it's trees. It's green, right in the middle of Kumasi. And that is wisdom. In Accra, even the Achimota forest is being sold. You can't sell your life for money if you don't have life. Money is nothing.
And I think a lot of people are not in line with what needs to be done. They don't even understand what we're talking about today because of the lack of education on these levels. If we're uneducated with regards to our culture, we can have all the formal education and earn all the certificates, but we'll still be illiterate in our own system.
I think every community should have an input into their schooling system, so that they can teach the children where they come from, who they are, so they grow up believing in themselves. Okay.
So I'm taking 2 questions from our listeners. I have a message in here from Irene Upon. So Irene works with Zenith Bank at East Legon. Irene is listening while I work. Good morning, Irene. How you doing? Irene wants to know if it's true that last year you almost became a pastor. How? No, Sofo. Irene, kindly define your question well, did you at any point find Christ and give your life to Christ and decide you're going to pause of music and
I was born into it,
okay,
and now I'm divorced from it.
Why?
Because this has been designed to rule us. Okay? This Christianity thing has been designed to ruin us seriously, and it's difficult to talk about this because a lot of people think
you're insensitive when you're
no, but the reality is that, look, if our people believed in their own religion, they wouldn't do a lot of things that they're doing. If they were sworn unto, their behavior would be different. Okay? At first, you could leave anything anywhere. Nobody would touch it. You see, Nogopo, that became a topic,
I think a year ago.
Yeah. It is because they're able to get the truth out of situations where somebody has
instills discipline in people.
So that discipline we've lost because of Christianity. People swear on the Bible doesn't mean a thing to them. But when people are in trouble, they start cursing with Antoine. Even in Parliament, they curse each other with Antoine. So if it's that strong in you, why do you relegate it to the background? We're living a lie. A lot of
Christians,
Christians
we should embrace our traditional side.
A lot of so-called Christians, when their life is on the line, they won't go to the bishop.
No.
They'll go down. Okay? That's what they're called believers.
There's power in our rivers, in our trees.
Why should I live a lie, pretend that, I'm a Christian just for acceptance? Whereas I know that is what actually protects me.
Did the family see you as an odd one once again when you decided, you declare your faith, you've been in the wrong religion or belief for a long time, and so you found the real roots, and so you're going back to being a traditionalist or into believing our traditional system? Did they see you? Did they think you were maybe what's the right word to use? Kind of simple, bro. What backsliding?
Not really. I mean, they know me.
Okay.
I'm fine with them. They think I'm a bit
You're different.
Unusual. Yeah. Sometimes, but they know essentially who I am, and to a large extent they love me for that, yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning, Uncle Ben Brako, my guest today on the Leaderboard series. Before we go, final words and piece of advice to young Ghanaians listening, creatives, people who are into businesses, commerce, entrepreneurs, people trying to find their feet, people who are leaving home to find a life and a future for themselves. Talk to them.
Well, all I would say is basically that you should know that you are of God and that you are with God, and that should empower you. That means you have access to all the power in the universe. So how do you access this power? It's through your mind and your beliefs, and what you can dream vividly, what you can see in your mind believingly is yours. Even Jesus said that it is done unto you as you believe. So there you go. Live life with a passion, man.
I love that.
Yeah, live your life with a passion.
It was a pleasure sitting with you today. Thank you, DJ 4. DJ 4 was listening. He really enjoyed the interview. Thank you to every single person that listened to the show today. A big thank you to MTN Ghana. MTN Ghana says carrying multiple phones can be such a chore. Now, the unsightly bulge in your pocket, the extra weight in your pocket, the stress of actually switching from one phone to the other because it's stress. Now, imagine being able to switch between two SIM cards on one phone, okay? One phone, easily and seamlessly. They can now get things going like that. It's very seamless. It's a seamless thing to do. You're going seamless with MTN eSIM and enjoy the convenience of connecting two or multiple phone numbers on one single phone or device. Now, if you want to check if your device is compatible, the short code to dial is *#06#. Once you click on that, an EID number pops up. It means your phone and device is compatible. Then you can go ahead and download my MTN app today and request for your eSIM and enjoy the sweet seamless life everywhere you go, only on MTN. MTN made it possible for us to bring you Leaderboard series today. And a big thank you going out to Sunny Pro and of course the production team for YLeaderboard series. My guest this morning, special man, Mr. Ben Brako, joined us on here to share his life. So we're definitely going to bring him back sometime soon to talk more about his music, the new sounds that he has. But we're wrapping up with one of my favorite songs from him. I know it's one of his personal favorites as well. If you enjoyed this interview, send us a text on WhatsApp 02022222073.
Often bringing up the